Afternoon, people. Welcome to another BNR Transfer Daily Show. Some people have been complaining, agitated, not panicking, but slightly nervous, thinking, you know what, it's been a bit slow. But we always said that the next 3-4 days will always be a bit of a silence period. Liverpool, taking stock of what they need to do, preparing their bid, monitoring the bid, and all that sort of stuff. But more importantly, Newcastle lining up their replacements. And until then, I don't think we'll see an official approach from Liverpool. But we've been talking about what's been going behind the scenes. If there's a deal in principle between Liverpool and Newcastle, I believe there is. And we'll get into it all over the next half an hour or so. So welcome all. There's already around 260 people in the building. Please smash a like, subscribe to the channel, and if you're feeling generous, head over to the BNR Ultra YouTube membership, where it's $4.99 a month, and you'll be getting exclusive content coming your way over the next. I think we'll be in a position to do that in about a week or two. Tactical shows, player ratings, special guests, all that is to come on the BNR membership. What do you call it? BNR membership, YouTube. So please show your love and support for that. And if you want to engage with me today, I always try to answer a load of questions on the day Transfer Daily. I'm alone, so it's all on you guys to send me your questions, and I can answer them to my best of ability over the next half an hour or so. So where are we at? We saw some quotations from Eddie Howe, didn't we? Early in the morning. Let's get to those comments. Let's share my screen quickly. Rightio. Here we are. Eddie Howe on Alexander Isak. He's still our player. He's contracted to us. We, to a degree, control what is next for him. I would love to believe all the possibilities are still available to us. My wish is that he stays, but that's not in my full control. And then he later on and said there has not been any formal offer. So let's just try to break down that Eddie Howe quotation. He's still our player. He's contracted to us. We, to a degree, control what is next for him. I would love to believe all possibilities are still available to us. For me, this quotation is an acceptance of Newcastle day by day, minute by minute, second by second, are losing control of their player. Honestly, that's what it is for me. And as Rehan says, to a degree, like, yes, what is that degree and what does he mean by that? What he means by that is he's still a Newcastle player, as he says in the straight away from his press conference. He's contracted to us, 3 years, and that is the degree, that is the control that Newcastle have. But what is the larger degree? The larger degree is he hasn't trained for about a week and a half. He doesn't want to play for Newcastle anymore. He's not thinking about Saudi Arabia. He's not thinking about any club in the world. He's dreaming, to quote Fabrizio Romano, about Liverpool. And I think they're weighing up their options, and not even weighing their options. I think they've done all their weighing up of options in the last 2-3 weeks. And I think I kept on stressing the moment they went for Hugo Ekitike, I think that was an acceptance. And I think all the talk of Alexander Isak not going on tour, it had to become public because you couldn't hide it anymore. And in the last 4 or 5 weeks prior to that, or maybe that's a bit too much because he was on holiday, but I think Newcastle knew the players' intentions maybe at the end of the season. I think that it was talk about Liverpool making contact with the players' representatives back in March. So I think Newcastle were privy to all that all those conversations or meetings. And I think Newcastle have known for a good 6 to 8 months now that Liverpool are prowling when it comes to replacing Darwin Núñez, and Luis Diaz. And then maybe Liverpool accelerated that interest when they received the tragic news of Diogo Jota passing away. Maybe not in direct terms, but in terms of the whole attacking area needed looking at in greater detail. So I will give you my percentage where I am at, how confident I am. Alexander Isak is going to become a Liverpool player. So that is to come. If you're interested in my number, the someone asked on Twitter, I thought it'd be a nice little, not a bomber, but I'm just going to give you the number on screen. So we've had a few super chats already. Well, let me know what you guys think. I think this is Eddie Howe basically saying, look, and he's preparing every press conference that he has in front of the cameras. I think he's preparing the Newcastle fan base in making sure they're expecting it and it's not a complete shock. If you ask, and we've had Gav in the show for a while now, for the last week or so, but people are telling me they're listening to podcasts from Newcastle fans, reading articles from the journalists, and it is all in preparation of their big man leaving the big club. And I think that feeling is amongst the Newcastle fan base now. I don't think that it will be a Newcastle fan that is confident that Isak is going to stay at their club this season. 20 times, thank you so much for your super chat, mate. He says Núñez left wing, he might cook. See his days at Portugal. I think when he played at left wing, it wasn't a touchline winger role. It was more of a two, and then they were interchanging and they were going. But we were discussing this last night. Do I see Liverpool playing 4-4-2? I can't see playing on paper anyway. I can't see Liverpool. I think it'll still be a 4-3-3 or a 4-2-3-1. Call it what you like, but the last 6 months of Liverpool, it was more of a 4-3-3 rather than a 4-2-3-1. I think we'll see more of that. Obviously, on the ball, there'll be plenty of fluidity, but I can't see it myself. But thank you so much for... Look, that's just an opinion. I might be wrong. This is their Coutinho moment, and the Newcastle fans just don't see it. Ethan, thank you so much for sending that through. I think they are. I think reality is hitting home. And I think there's an acceptance from the club. There's an acceptance from the manager. And I think that's just transported towards the fan base now. And every single video that a Newcastle journalist is doing, every article that they're putting out there, is all preparing the fan base in making the heart break, softening that. And I read something someone sent me on Twitter earlier on, that if they do sell, and I'm not big into the finance side of football and the PSR, how it exactly works and stuff, but I do know that if you do sell someone, there'll be a book value and how much you can spend. And apparently, I don't know how true that is, but if there's anyone who does know the finance side of it much better than me, apparently they can spend up to £400 million more the moment they sell Isak, and how it works in the PSR. So if that's true, then it looks like the struggles that they've had in bringing a few players in, and then again we're talking about acceptance from the manager. Eddie Howe's been talking about how frustrating it's been in getting the numbers and the bodies in and the quality in this summer. They've lost out on so many players. And Buemo, they lost out on João Pedro before that, James Trafford, and they've only got Elanga in, and it's nearly August now. And although there's time to get 3-4 bodies in, but more importantly, I think they need the cash to do that, because every deal that they're going in for, they're trying to lowball the team, and those sort of players that I'm talking about, it's been a Premier League team, so it's a lot harder to buy a player from the Premier League at the moment, because more or less, generally speaking, everyone has money. There's Sunderland, spending God knows how much money, and this is a problem. The rewards of the TV deals and everything. The downside is, to get a player, you either have to pay a premium, the Premier League tax, or just wait for the right moment for someone to have a few PSR issues, just like maybe Spurs took advantage of the Kudus situation at West Ham, where West Ham probably needed to balance the books a little, and they got Kudus, in many people's eyes, probably 10, 15 million pound cheaper. And that's why a lot of people recognize that as a really good deal, because we got him for around about, what is it, around about 50 to 55 million pounds. So that is the problem. And when you do go for the likes of João Pedro, Brighton sell and sell well. So you're not going to lowball them, no chance. Ash is in the house. Thank you so much, Ash, for sending this through. I just think Isak and Ekitike will fight it out for the number 9. I put a tweet out and it was so badly written. So I do apologize for that. I had to write another tweet just to clarify my position, and I agree with Ash that I think Ekitike is going to be the number 2 option if Isak comes in, and that's not a bad thing. We sometimes, if we don't get an adequate replacement, I don't give a crap if Liverpool have to spend 65 million pounds on a number 2 option, because you can't have it both ways. You can't ask for real good quality depth and then say we've spent too much money on the number 2 option. No, it's up to Ekitike to make and give the manager a headache. And I know Isak is on paper going to start every week, and he should, because he's Alexander Isak and he's proven that he can score 25 to 30 goals a season, but he has to be pushed. Even Alexander Isak needs to have someone pushing him, thinking, you know what, if I let my guard down, if I let my form dip just a touch, and that's the highest level, that's all you need, just a touch, then there'll be someone, a young, hungry striker who's proven himself in the German league last season, who wants to prove himself in the Premier League this year, and wants that number 9 spot from me. Then I have to make sure I don't let my standards dip. And that's what the greatest sides do. Even the great 90s, when Man United had that was the era where you didn't have a lot of teams, and and we talk about how our depth in the attacking department last year proved to be the difference, where at 60th minute the game was at 1-1 or 2-1. We were chasing the game sometimes. Even I think the Southampton game, we went a goal down, and we had to come out half time, make a few changes. I think Arne Slot made 3 changes, and that is one of the integral parts for me, that Liverpool had 2 forwards in Jota and Nunez or Gakpo, or Diaz or Gakpo coming off the bench and changing the game for us. How many times did we see that? And this is what you need when you're playing for a big club. And he goes on to say, I don't see some big structure change to fit them both. 60 games, plenty of games. Hit the nail on the head, Ash. There will be plenty of games for Ekitike to play. And if we're honest, if we're going to go by Isak's record, he probably misses 6 to 7 games, Premier League games anyway, on average, over the last 2-3 years. So there's 6 games for Ekitike to start up top anyway. And if we're chasing games, he can come on for Gakpo. It also probably depends on who we bring in, because I think Liverpool at the moment are pushing for 2 options in that attacking area, whether it's a high caliber player, if we ignite our interest, because at the moment, if we were led to believe the reports, Rodrigo really wants Liverpool. It's a common theme this summer. Everybody wants to play for Liverpool. And if we want him, I think we can do a deal. Avi's talking about a loan option. And although, we took the piss initially, but, look, it's not beyond the realms of possibilities, is it? That Liverpool approach Real Madrid and say, okay, let's structure a deal. We'll take him off your books. We'll pay his wages this year, and we'll do a loan option with an obligation to buy. I can't see Madrid letting go of someone like Rodrigo, who is a really sellable asset, without some sort of guarantees that they get the money for him, maybe this summer, or at least the next summer. So, yeah, I won't be surprised, although, I was part of the banter when Avi initially mentioned it. But where I differed from him is I can't see Real Madrid just saying, okay, take him for a year and we'll have him back after a year, because I do think, if the manager doesn't believe that he can cut it at Real Madrid, then they rather take the money and, invest it elsewhere. We have a new member, Danielle. Thank you so much, Danielle, for becoming a BNR Ultra. Send me a message, Danielle, if you're on Twitter. If not, send an email. If the admin is in the chat, please put the BNR email on there just in case Danielle isn't on Twitter. If you are, just simply message me and I'll send you the BNR Ultra link on WhatsApp. And it's always popping off. Just to give you an idea, I've not been on that group for what, 6 minutes now since I've been live. Actually 15 minutes, and there's 170 messages on there. It is constant, it is intense, but it's all proper football talk. I promise you. Let's continue, keep on with the supers. I think Howe would sell. Not sure about the proud Arabs. Thank you so much, Alex, for sending this through. I think Eddie Howe wants the money. If you're going to judge him by what he's saying in the presses for the last 2-3 weeks now, Alex, he's been talking about how, honestly speaking, it's really frustrating that they haven't got the players in that they would like. Every deal they've been struggling with, and only have got Ilanga through the door this summer. I agree with you. Howe wants the money. But I think maybe the Arabs need to put their pride to a side as well, and their ego to a side. Why? Is because I think even the acceptance from them that it's been an absolute shit show. And how much of that has been down to the fact that their PSR issue hasn't allowed them. I think obviously they know that, but also in terms of their how much change or vacuum of leadership there has been upstairs with Paul Mitchell and these guys coming in. There was Amanda Staley leaving. Apparently there was 2-3 other guys coming in the next week or two. So it looks like there's a lot of movement upstairs as well. And if it's down to that, then obviously that plays a part in it as well. We as a club know exactly how much movement upstairs affects contracts and transfers and negotiations. We saw it when Schmatica came in. He managed to get Szoboszlai, McAllister, Endo, and Gravenberg, and those are really, really good deals. But you have to say over before that, when there was a lot of movement with Julian Ward leaving and Edwards before that, the contracts got neglected because what was Klopp supposed to do? Run the team, run the players, and do the contracts as well. And I think that is one of the reasons why, and one of the main reasons why, we were left in a situation with the likes of Van Dijk and Trent and Salah. All of a sudden, there are 2 years left. Klopp announced he's leaving. The players are not really keen to discuss the contract negotiations, and any player would take advantage of their contract situation going down to 18 months, 12 months, because all of a sudden you've got the biggest European, because these guys weren't normal players. They were the best players in the world. And when you've got the likes of Real Madrid sniffing around, eyeing up players running down their contracts around 2 years, then it's a different conversation, because they can offer the money and the signing on fee that simply the current club can't do. And if it's someone like, I don't know, Juve, then Liverpool will still be in a really good position. But at the end of the day, we can't neglect the natural attraction of a club like Real Madrid. And I think Ibu Konate is slightly in that category as well, where his contract, although it wasn't as we still had a bit more time, but I think you can still point him into the same category, even though I've got a feeling Ibu Konate hopefully gets his contract sorted in the end. I'm just going to check the supers. Yeah, we've covered the new member as well. There's 670 people at 1:30 in the afternoon in the building. All we're giving you, there's just a deal. The contract, the negotiation between us and you guys is very, very simple. We provide the content. You smash a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. It helps really a lot with the algorithms. The more you like the stream, the more it gets exposed to new viewers and new watchers. So please, just like Nadir says, smash the likes and subscribe if you're new. Chris with a question: do you think we replace Diaz with a winger? Yes. Will that winger be versatile? Yes. Any player that we bring in now, I think unless you are an unbelievable. No, no. Let me put this straight again. Any player that Liverpool sign has to be versatile and adaptable to different roles and different systems, because it allows the manager to do so many things. If we're just bringing specialists, we need extra bodies to cover different roles, and you're only as good as your the versatility and adaptability of your players. You can talk about Arne Slot's system, you can talk about Luis Enrique's PSG, but if they weren't adaptable in different roles, then you can't be fluid as a team. Simple. So, even Ekitike has been talked about fluid, and although I think he'll still start up top on paper, he still can go into left channels and cut in, because that is one of his strengths as well. And just how we see Cody Gakpo, that goal he scored against Tottenham, honestly, it felt like watching Cody Gakpo cut in and stick it back of the net. So, but I'm very intrigued as what caliber or what type of player Liverpool go for. Don't be surprised if they go a bit left wing and go for a name that we haven't heard before. Fafana obviously has been talked about. The interest, from what I understand, is genuine. We like the player, and I mentioned that he is an interesting start. 37% of his goal involvement came with his left foot. So that tells me he can do shifts on the right wing as well. Because wherever you are, whether you're a left winger, a striker, or a right winger, you have to have that goal threat. And if you've got the comfort of cutting in from the right hand side with your left foot, and if you've got a 37% goal involvement with your left foot, that tells me you can play on the right, you can play on the left as well. He needs to fill up a bit, just like Rio does, because he's only 20 and Rio's 16. That's natural. But there's no pressure because you've got Mohamed Salah there. We can do a bit of Jeremy Frimpong there as well. So Liverpool, I think, are pushing for a second attacker. But at the moment, it's all eyes on Alexander Isak and getting that deal over the line, because that will be a massive. I don't need to talk about how much of a game changer it is going to be for the club and for the fan base as well. Adam, I mentioned this about 3-4 days ago. I think the Sesko deal to Newcastle gets done. I think I mentioned Diaz to Bayern Munich gets done, and that's got done. And the Alexander Isak deal to Liverpool gets done. How confident I am, I will tell you in about 10 minutes or so. But I think all those three deals get done. Watkins, I think, is a good deal for United. And I think the problem with United is they've got the problem of Højlund. I think if they could shift Højlund for around about £50 million, how much did they get him for? They got him for about what, 60 odd, £70 million? What is something stupid like that? And I think if it is, I think that if the manager could get 50-60 million for him, 72 million, wow. I think if they can get 50 odd million for him, they would do that deal. But nobody would want to pay £50 million for Højlund at the moment. And that's the problem. And what their hope is, in my eyes, is bring in someone like a Watkins, who's not young. He's 28, 29, but he's a Premier League proven striker. Get him maybe for, I don't know, 35-40 million pounds. I think that could be done. Obviously, they'll probably try for around about 30 million, but I think 40 million is a good figure for Man United and Aston Villa. 25 million with add-ons. Wow. Okay, so what we're looking at is around about 30 million, aren't we? Maybe a loan deal as well. So I think that's what Man United have the finances for. I was very surprised when they were linked to Benjamin Sesko, because I thought that is not going to be a cheap deal. And they were negotiating hard for Brian Mbeumo. Maybe they knew that they need a striker as well. I think they need a few defensive players as well. So, yeah, I can't see Man United completing a deal for Sesko. And if Newcastle have got, which I believe they will, the Alexander Isak money, then they will have the financial muscle to complete that deal. I do not have any clue in how good Will Wright is. I'm sorry. All I'm reading is a few tweets. I've seen literally a 10-15 second compilation of him. I want to see more of him. Maybe when we get him over the line, I'll watch him a bit more. But the talk is that he's really talented. He's a proper finisher. I think he got 30-40 goals in the last 2-3 years at different levels. So yeah, if Arsenal and Liverpool have been fighting out for his signature, that tells you that he won't be shy. Let's put it that way. Let's see if there's any comments. Get your Isak. Zach's in the house. Asim, does the first Isak bid get accepted? Zach, your guess is as good as mine. I don't think Liverpool will faff about with the deal. I think it'll take absolute max 2 bids to get this deal over the line. I think Liverpool will go straight in, where they think that Newcastle will, one, they'll be in a position before the bid goes in that they're not going to put it in blindly. They'll be, one, get some encouragement. Two, they've got some signal from Newcastle that they can talk. I've been talking about, and it's just purely based on opinion, that I think there is a deal in principle between Newcastle and Liverpool of go get your business done, go get your signings, whether it's a Watkins, whether it's a Sesko. Liverpool don't give a crap who it is, as long as they get some striking options. And I think that is the kind of agreement. And I think whatever the media has put out, there's a breakdown of relationships, and there won't be any players going to Saudi because the Saudis are really pissed off at Liverpool. I think that is just pure paper talk, and I don't think it is true at all. I think Liverpool, yes, they want the player. They've talked to, they've made an informal approach just to see and test the waters with Newcastle and what the situation is. But they did that with the assurance from the player and from the club as well. They had a chat with Isak. He gave the club his word that he wants to come, and they made an informal approach for the player. And that was always going to get rejected because Newcastle weren't in a position. And I think at that stage, they thought, even though they knew Liverpool are coming after getting all the fullbacks into the club, and Florian Wirtz was a massive deal that a lot of the hierarchy upstairs were collectively working on. They always knew Liverpool are coming. And I've just talked about it, that Liverpool made their interest known in the player back in March. So they were expecting it, weren't they? So I think the moment Liverpool knew that they want to sell Alexander Isak now is the moment they moved for Ekit and tried to get him under our noses. I've not seen these Alan Shearer comments, a few people have been saying he's been giving Isak stick. That's absolutely hypocritical, if I'm honest. The talk and the comments that he came out with when Trent left, or he's achieved everything at the club, he's born and bred, he's won the trophies, let him go, it's a short career, all that, well, it's not nonsense, but it's a valid opinion. But if it's a valid opinion, then you have to be consistent as well and come out and say, yeah, we shouldn't stand in the way of Alexander Isak now and let him go to a bigger club, and be consistent, be a man, and go against your fan base. Is he going to do that? I don't think he is. Simple. What's your percentage? Fab said 60%. Jazzy, I'm coming to that. I am coming to that. Malcolm says Shearer has gone into hiding. Not surprised, mate. Isn't he doing the pod with Gary Lineker and Mick Richards? Matthias says, Asim, if you should guess, when is that bid going in? About 2-3 shows ago, I think someone asked, when do we see Alexander Isak in a red shirt? Not necessarily on the pitch, but holding it up and getting announced by the club. I think from now, what is it? Tuesday? I'm going next Friday. By next Friday, I think we see Alexander Isak in a red shirt. And it might take 2-3 days of negotiation. There's a massive, absolutely massive deal, and if there's add-ons involved, Newcastle we might push back a few, and we might even not hear the bids, one or two or a few clauses get sent back and stuff like that, because the journalists will only officially report like the big bids, and there's plenty of talk, plenty of negotiation that we don't get to see or we don't get to hear about. And these are massive deals. So as in Friday the 9th, what are we on now? Yeah, I think so. Yeah, that's my prediction, please. And that's purely based on a prediction as well. This Friday is a kit launch day. I don't think you'll see Alexander Isak in a red shirt this Friday, although I hope I'm proven horribly wrong. I don't think that's realistic, if we're all honest. We're only 3 days away from that. But it's interesting that Newcastle have left him, their main man, out of their media release when it comes to their new kit. And that normally tells you, and it's normally a massive signal as to whereabouts the Newcastle as a club are thinking. And someone mentioned, I think it was Alex, saying the proud Arabs. If they were proud and they were resolute in their position and they were stubborn, which we know Arabs can be, do you put him into that media release? Do you say, look, this is your duty as a player, that if we're telling you to come and be part of a media release, then you have to be. It's part of his contract, probably, that anything through the club you have to take part in. So doesn't that send a message out to the fans that, you know what, we're strong, we're keeping our best player? So to let him put in that transfer request, to not let him go on tour where other injured players joined the camp as well on tour and got on the plane, and then leave him out on the media release, every single signal is going in the direction of Alexander Isak is going to be a Liverpool player. And what at the moment is that period of Newcastle working around the clock to get their replacement in. Keep smashing that like button, people. There's nearly 700 people in the building. Keep smashing that like button and subscribe to the channel if you're new. I'll go through a couple of more questions, and then I'll just tell you where I am at and how confident I am in Alexander becoming a Liverpool player this summer. More transfer news. Vissa has communicated he wants his deal to Newcastle to happen. He's told Brentford to find a solution, reports Craig Hope. And to be fair, Craig Hope has been on the money when it comes to the whole situation. I think he was the first one to get that scoop about Isak not going on the tour as well. So I've always said Vissa gets done. I think Brentford are being stubborn as well, and rightly so. They've lost a lot of players. Brian and Mbeumo, they've lost Nodegaard to Arsenal, Vissa probably to Newcastle, and they're a really well-run club, and they will get their money. I think once they do, and the whole world knows, they will have Newcastle money. Why are Newcastle? Yes, the pitch will be Wilson has left the club, and the narrative was that Ekitike will play alongside Isak, and although everyone knew that was bullshit, they have to put it out there. And I think Brentford are just trying to take advantage of the Newcastle situation, like any club would do. And I think it'll probably take an extra 5 million or so to get that deal over the line. Asim, who takes Diaz 7? There was some talk about Wirtz taking the number 7 shirt. So let's see. Paul Gormley asks, Asim, I think we only see Elliot and Nunes go out on loan. I'd be very, very surprised if we're not getting the deal. Let's say our value of Harvey Elliot, for example, is 40 million and a club is only offering 25 million. I think then we can see Liverpool being open to Harvey Elliot going out on loan for a year with maybe an obligation to buy. Harvey Elliot, are we going to treat him in a similar fashion to how we treated Jarell Quansah, where we let him go because the manager wanted someone better, especially in the duels, but also recognize he's young and he's got talent. So they put a buyout clause into the deal. So it'll be interesting to see how the club see Harvey Elliot. But Harvey Elliot, if the club doesn't see and the manager has publicly said he's not a winger, so where do you see him? He can only play one position for me then, in the number 10 position. So who's in the number 10 position? Is Curtis Jones ahead of him? Is Szoboszlai is ahead of him? And now Florian Wirtz is ahead of him. So he's fourth choice, number 10. So, and those guys, all those guys are young. So how does the situation change? Does he go out on loan and become an absolute beast and develops into a number 10 and a Bernardo Silva where he can play in deep areas that the club want him back? I don't know. I can't see it. I think Liverpool will see a Harvey Elliott as a sale. And will someone like West Ham be willing to put in a buyback clause? So let's see. I don't think we're there yet. There's still plenty of time. And I think Nunes and Elliott, in my prediction, will go as full-on transfers. A super chat from Rafi bin Askar. Thank you so much. How can I join the WhatsApp? You're a BNR Ultra, as I can see. If you're on Twitter, Rafi, just send me a message on Twitter. I'll send you the link straight away. My DMs are open. And if you don't have Twitter, then I've got Instagram as well. Asim.bnr on there, I think. Just send me one message on there or email us if you're not on the socials. Please just get on the BNR email from our Twitter profile and we'll make sure we get that sent across to you. Nimrod with the super chat. I've got 2 minutes, people. I just need to head back to work. The only thing I still don't understand is what exactly happened with the Ekit saga. Why Isak didn't do the noise before we got Ekitike. The only thing I still don't understand is what happened with the Ekitike saga. Why Isak didn't do the noise before we got. I think Isak did tell the club. I did tell the club, Liverpool, that he wants to come. But I think there was internal discussions between him and Newcastle. And Newcastle tried to, nip the bud behind closed doors. They tried to convince the player. But it had to come to a head. And the toe came. So they couldn't. They tried to hide it with a minor injury. And it'll trigger the injury if he goes onto a long fly. And all that public official line. And then the scan came back, and then he was training alone, and then he hasn't been training for the last week or two. So I think the reason why he had to come out is because he tried to sort it out professionally. He tried to sort it out behind closed doors, amicably, and not go through the back door, but just without the whole public spat and the saga. And then because they rejected it, they've rejected. And Liverpool knew what's happening behind the scenes, and Liverpool contacted Newcastle, and then Isak had to make a decision. And Newcastle thought, okay, if you're going to leave, then you're going to leave as the bad guy, not us. We don't want to portray this project as an absolute failure after 2 years of getting taken over by the Saudis, that we're selling. And imagine the message that it sends out to the fans, that we're selling our prize asset 18 months into our big, massive project that we've been talking about for the last 18 months. So it sent all the wrong signals. It sent all the wrong messages. So if you want to come, put in that public transfer request, which he has, and it got out. And now, we see the whole transfer develop. And then I think Newcastle thought, you know what, we're struggling to sign players, and maybe it is now best to get that, 100 to 120, 30 million, whatever it is, and go sign a few players. Someone just said James Pearce. I don't know what he has tweeted. I'll just quickly check. And if it's something big, I don't think it will be, because all the chat would have been going crazier by now. James Pearce. Liverpool set to complete the signing of Salford City for 200 grand. Will Wright plus add-ons. Okay, that looks like it's done. Wright set to start off with Rob Page under 21s. Arsenal had previously agreed a fee for him. So it looks like it's a good deal for Liverpool. If Arsenal will agree on a deal for him, it looks like Liverpool have made a march on Will Wright. If you're good, and this is what, one of the side of the business side of FSG and the club in general, you have to take your hat off. Whether we might not see a trend in the academy and make that jump to the first team, you still have to keep churning out players and nicking players of talent. And even if they don't make the cut into the first team, they can go for 10, 15 million pounds. And that is a massive, massive profit. Just look at in the last 10 years, how many players Liverpool have sold that have come to the academy, made a sort of name for themselves. And then Liverpool have sold them for 5, 10, 15 million pounds. You have to keep on doing this. And this is the reason, one of the reasons why I've been a big critic over the years of FSG, because I thought just a little more expenditure has cost us league titles as good as Jurgen Klopp and the miracles that he did. I wasn't asking for 100 million, 150 million signings. I was asking for maybe, a 30, 40 million signing when we really needed a centre back, when we had that crazy January when we got Davies and Kabak. And I thought, you know what, just give that manager a centre back of a 30, 40 million quality. And we didn't need to see that sort of situation as desperate as it was. But we don't need to talk about the past. FSG are doing their thing, and credit where it's due. In everything, you have to give flowers. And if they're proving to be really, really transfer monsters this summer, is because of these sort of things where you're always working in different departments to get into a position where we can really, really make a statement in the transfer window. And that's what we are showing. And as Ash says, facts, Asim, 30 million short on 4-5 windows. Okay, people, here we are. This is my how confident are you with Isak? I'm gonna end the show, but you have to promise me you smash the like now, you subscribe to the channel, and we shall see you. If there's something breaks, we'll come back at 6, 7 o'clock. If not, we'll see you on the channel. And I have to caveat any deal with at least a small percentage of just considering anything can happen in any given transfer. And that is the only reason why I have to caveat that. So here is how confident am I in Alexander Isak becoming a Liverpool player in terms of percentage. I am 95% sure Alexander Isak becomes a Liverpool player this summer. Take care. Have a good afternoon, and we'll see you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.